right, we struggle streaming a little bit, but we're finna get this together because the YouTube is moving slow. But bear with me as I get this together, my people, because it's on there. Okay, you are live. Saying I'm live on YouTube. Making sure that people can see me. If you can see this on YouTube, let me know in the comments. If you can see this, if this stream is live on YouTube, let me know, because it's not showing on my end, but I want to make sure we are good, because I got the PhD in the building and we got some good information to drop on y'all today. So let me know, because I can't really tell on my end. I don't know why I can't tell. Okay. Well, happy Saturday. Welcome back to On the Shoulders of Giants. I am Joseph Ward, and we got a real good show for you today. Excuse my time delay. I don't know what's going on. On my end, it ain't looking like it's showing on YouTube. I don't know, because YouTube and shadow banning and stuff. So I just want to make sure that it's good on my end, because I cannot tell on the other end. So y'all make sure y'all jump in the comment section and let me know that everything is everything on this. And come on in. Happy Saturday, because we got a lot to talk about. But first, I want to introduce my guest, because I'm not doing this alone. Like I told you all last Saturday, like I told you all last Tuesday, that we got a rattler in the building. I know we're hard on HBCUs, but HBCUs do actually produce some great people, right? And I'm a product of HBCU. Shout out to FAMU, Florida Agriculture Mechanical University. And so my guest today is a product of Florida Agriculture Mechanical University psychology program. Shout out to the psychology program, one of the few African-centered psychology programs in the country. So when you come through that program, they're gonna get your mind right. And I had the privilege of being a student of the late great Dr. Kobe KK Cambone. So, experiences were their experiences were great, and we learned a lot of information. So I want to introduce my sister, the PhD. Welcome, my sister. Welcome to On the Shoulders of Giants Saturday Live. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, Rattler.
Well, the highest 7 hills, they get us right.
And I actually want to take a second just to pop my own collar, because you mentioned, you work with Dr. Cambone, and so did I. I had several classes with him. Yeah. And in his personality psych class, our first test, he, passed out everybody's test except mine. And then he gave a little speech about how in his entire 20 years of teaching, he had never had a student get a perfect score on one of his tests. And it was truly. So
that's what, no. So hold on. So you got to get that round of applause right there. No, because if you know Dr. Cambone, if you've taken this class, he don't cut no corners. He's not going to be soft on you. He expects excellence from you. And he did that for me, and especially for me, because I found out that he was one of my father's mentors.
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, oh man, because I was talking to my dad one day. He was like, yeah, Dr. Cambone used to be one of my mentors. And I when I asked him about it, like, yeah, your dad, then he gave me that look like, okay, I expect the A+ from you. Okay. But hey, but welcome. So if you don't mind, give the guests a little bit of information about yourself so they can learn more about you and be able to support you.
Sure. So as Joseph said, I came through FAMU's Black Psychology program, one of only 2 universities in the country that have a Black Psychology program. The other is Hampton University, so shout out to them. And then I went on to get a PhD. I am a psychologist. I am not a clinician or a counseling psychologist, however. But one of the things that I am passionate about is Black psychology. And I try to, make sure to stay up on, the latest of what's going on with us. And so this is a topic that is very near and dear to my heart, because one of the first things we learn about in FAMU psychology program is, the difference between the African-centered and European worldview. And a lot of us, just out in the world aren't really aware of that, that could be oriented one way or the other, or even that they even exist. So
exactly. And another big shout out to Dr. Cambone, because if you took his class, he gave you 2 books. You had to have his book, and he gave us another book that gave the white centered worldview, the white psychological worldview. So we were able to distinguish between the both and get the information. So shout out to him. So let me get to these comments real quick. Then we're gonna jump into the information, because we got a lot of good stuff today. Like she said, we're juxtaposing the white supremacist worldview. We have a white lady who she claims she's not a part of the white supremacist world anymore, but okay, whatever. But we listening to what she's saying about the psychology of the people. Then we got a video from the great Marimba Ani giving a breakdown on the African-centered worldview versus a white supremacist worldview. And if you don't like the word African centered worldview, you can use a Black American worldview or FBA worldview, whatever. Like, it's a worldview for the diaspora. So that's what we're going with that. First and foremost, inspirational truth is up in the building. Appreciate you the first one. So you get them applause because you're the first in the building. Well, thank you. And my homie Battle Genja is up in the building. Yeah. Going down, man. How you doing, my brother? How you doing? Hey, man, we up in here. I got PhD in here today, and it's gonna be a great show. Yeah, you already know, man. We appreciate you. You've been down for a long time supporting this channel, so I appreciate you. Look, YouTube is about that bull. If you Black on YouTube and you actually giving Black people information that can actually help them uplift themselves and empower themselves, you getting shadow banned by YouTube. So, and I know that because I've checked out other channels and they're going through the same thing. So how we break through that is for this channel, every day at 1 p.m. a video will be available. Every day at 1 p.m. a video will be available. Come to the channel at 1 p.m. Every Saturday at 3:30 p.m. Every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Show up to the channel. If you just show up to the channel, we will break through the shadow banning. We could get the information that we can make sure more people see this. We in a battle against suppressing information right now. So if I was on here acting the fool and showing my ass, I'd be getting hundreds of thousands of views all the time, but I'm not, because I'm not that type of person. So here we are. Battle Genja says, yes, we hear you be busting hard as a sawed off. Yes, sir. I need to get a sawed. I need to get a gunshot sound effect. Nah, you made me mad. I ain't got no dang on sound effect. But all right, so this first video, that we're getting into, I can't remember her name, Alyssa or something, but it's a woman who is a ex-white supremacist, as she says, and she's giving her account of being a white Christian nationalist and how they think the things they do, the psychology of it. So we're gonna get into that, like I said, and then juxtapose that to Marimba Ani. So get your popcorn, get your drinks, do whatever you need to do. Please hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and share this video so more and more people can know about this. And we're about to get this thing kicked off the right way. So let's do this. 2 Rattlers up in here. Let's do it.
Hey.
This is Joe Webben. He's a self-affirmed Christian nationalist. So he believes that far-right Christian extremists should be the only ones in power, and in fact, the only ones in the country. If you are not a Christian, you do not belong here, and you'll be deported. You'll put in a concentration camp or something. Anyway, he's insane. I've covered him a few times, but listen to what he said recently.
Moved to Texas, I needed to get a new cardiologist. And so my wife, she does a lot of this for me because before we had kids, she was an RN, and she
Okay, fair enough.
knows a lot more than I do. And I let her read those books. She read some medical
Believe it or
books.
not.
Yeah.
He's not smiling here.
And so she's doing the research and looking at these things, and she shows me two doctors, both of this within the same practice, same company, hospital, and saying, do you like one over the other? And one was a young white dude, and one was a young black dude. And I said, I prefer the young white dude, and this is why. The reason why is not because I'm white, but because we currently live in a historical moment in the West, and particularly in these United States, where I know that both of these guys could be perfectly qualified. But I also know that if there's a chance that one of them was not qualified and was given a free pass, it'd be the black guy. I know that young white guy, there's no way he got a free pass.
Really? No way he got a free pass, you don't think? You haven't ever heard of any white guy having parents that paid for somebody to take the LSAT for them or whatever other medical examination?
I am exactly 0% comfortable with this video today.
So before we get into her, I do want to. I'm looking at what happened. I don't know what happened, but when I created this stream link, the original link, something happened to it. It got deleted. I don't know how, but this is a new stream link. So could you please share this stream link? I just went and seen on my YouTube channel. It don't have, this is the link without the thumbnail. So if you could share this link, same information. I'm just come back and put the thumbnail on it. Same information, but this is the link without the thumbnail. So please, please, please share this information. Share this information. Christine Williams is in the building, straight out of Texas. That's what I'm talking about, the Lone Star State, the second craziest state in the United States behind Florida, because we the craziest. All right. Ex-white supremacists, LOL. That's like being a member of a black church choir, then becoming just a gospel singer. That's funny. That is funny. He says, welcome, Christine. DSB is in the building. My channel member brother, how you doing? How you doing? What's going on? We all in here. We are all up in here. Come here. Yep. Get a plate of this food. We cooking today, right? YouTube messing with my channel bad, and I got a small channel. Guess they, they messing with me too, man. But if we unite, if we work together, if we all come together, if we support each other, DSB, tell us how we can support your channel. Tell us what we need to do to support your channel. I got 75,000 folk over here. We can send them on over there. We got to work together. Tell us what we got to do. So, PhD. Before we let her talk, what are your thoughts on Joel Webbin? I think that's the white Christian nationalist preacher guy. Yeah. I did a YouTube short on him a while ago, and he has very, very, very racist, extreme views. So what are your thoughts and your breakdown on the white guy's views as what he was saying about the existence of white people, white Christian nationalists versus everybody else, especially us?
Right. So, the first thing that, jumped out at me was how laughable it is that he would say, oh, well, if there's any chance that someone was able to cut corners, it wouldn't be the white guy. When we have a long storied history in this country of the white guys
right
able to cut corners and being able to lock everyone else out so that they can, monopolize and dominate, entire industries. Right. So the fact that these people seem to be able to revise history just on the fly, and with a straight face is crazy to me. But one of the other things that jumped out to me, and this is something that I'm always talking with Black Christians about, is how those white people, white Christian nationalists, all of them, Southern Baptists, they're all able to use their religion and their ideology to advance themselves as white people. Right. Because they're able to, there's no contradiction to them in using that religion and using the name of Jesus to, dominate other people. And Black people just don't really when I ask Black people how they use Christianity to advance themselves as Black people, most of them look at me like I've grown a second head. And they always say, I never even thought about that. So what are we thinking about? Are we just going in church and just hooping and hollering and not thinking about how this can actually improve our lives?
Right. Yes. Because you the word, and it's gonna be redundant, but you use the word use. Black people don't use religion. We let it use. Don't remember, we say let him use you.
Right.
And that's a whole different mindset. That's a mindset of an oppressed people, or not necessarily, and not fully an oppressed people, but a people who were very spiritual in the beginning, but became oppressed. And then we didn't have the mind. It was never instilled in us to use religion as a means to an end. It's rather religion is going to use us as a means to an end. And so we end up being used by the others.
Absolutely.
So but that's a great take on that. I'm with you. Yeah, he can go to hell.
But they're coming out of the woodwork now, right?
Yep.
All of them think like that. And that's the thing that I want Black people to understand. Do not waste your time trying to sift through white people to find the ones who don't think like that or the good ones. You better off just lumping them all in the same category and moving how you need to move to protect and advance yourself.
Look, Muhammad Ali said it best. If I have 1,000 snakes coming toward my house, 100 of those snakes are on my side. Am I going to let all the snakes in my house and sift through the snakes to see which one is good, or am I going to keep my door shut and keep them all out?
Right.
We are, I love, like, when we were talking, you used the word war because you were emphatic about it. We are at war because we have to remind ourselves that we are in a war. We've been inducted into a war that we didn't choose to be in, but damn it, we in the war. So we either gonna start fighting now or keep getting our asses kicked. What we gonna do?
Yep.
So, DSB, drop the link to your YouTube channel in the chat, so we can make sure we can share the link to your YouTube channel. If you haven't already, drop the link to your YouTube channel in the chat so we can, like Christine is saying, so we can support you. Marvin Gatlin. Okay, so let's make sure we do that. I was talking about the person who you wanted us to sub to. I already shared your live. Thank you. So you see the white guy, the white Christian nationalist preacher, right? He giving this view: white people are superior to Black people, especially when we're talking about the DEI stuff. Black people, like, if you see somebody in the position, they automatically have to be given a handout. Like PhD said, white people have always been given a handout. They have always been given a handout. Like, I was just looking at a video the other day, talking about the bailout in 2008. Who the hell got bailed out in 2008?
Right.
Because it wasn't us.
Exactly.
It wasn't no black banks. It wasn't no black barbershops, no black businesses, or nothing. Who got bailed out? Who been getting bailed out? As a matter of fact, affirmative action and DEI are both guises to give white women advantages. But folk don't. A lot of people don't know that and don't want to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It says, "Yep, PhD, but as a conflict social scientist, I've concluded after about a decade of research and experiments to refute the mythological good white people." Hey, look at here. You gotta be different now. You gotta be different. If you wanna be believable, you better be different. You better be John Brown-esque. They act like a standard ain't set.
Right, but the thing is that a lot of us get confused by is, like, these people really playing chess, and so you got different pieces on the board playing different positions, but they all working towards the same goal. So they don't all have to be foaming at the mouth, yelling the N-word. You got some of them who will seek you out and smile in your face, but they still got a knife ready to plunge it in your back as soon as you turn around. And so we get confused by that type of thing quite frequently.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why.
Yeah. We haven't studied the refinement of the system of white supremacy like we should have. And we try to talk about it on this channel as much as possible. It's not supposed to look like Big Billy Bob coming out and just trying to be aggressive to you. That's old school racism. They wouldn't be able to progress if they kept going on like that. They're a lot more intelligent than we give them, and then we come back and try to act like we're smarter than them, and they have programmed us. And that's one of the things we talking about.
Right.
So Renee Woods is in the building, y'all. Y'all better give Renee some love. Y'all, I gotta give Renee some hand claps up in here. How you doing, Renee? In the building. Say no, they don't want to talk about it because it doesn't fit their social construct. Right. And I'm glad you used the word social construct, because that's what we are analyzing. The white supremacist social construct versus an African-centered or Black American social construct, and how they are vastly different. But when you are a Black people who are colonized, oppressed, and then socially engineered by your oppressors, you will think, walk, talk, and exist like your oppressors. So she's about to tell us how the oppressors really behave, and then we're gonna look at how we should be behaving. So let's listen to her snitch on the people. And please hit that like button when you come in here. Please hit that like button. Look, we busting through this shadow banner, so please hit that like button.
Because I used to be exactly like this man. I was a Christian nationalist, white supremacist, hateful, awful human being. And what's crazy is, like, on the outside, I looked like just the girl next door with blonde hair and a smile and a house full of cute little kids running around baking sourdough bread in my little sundresses. I'm no longer Christian. I'm atheist. So I know it's always funny to people when an atheist quotes the Bible, but there's a little scriptural phrase where Yeshua talks about wolves in sheep's clothing and how dangerous they are. And I was that. I was a wolf in sheep's clothing, the Christian.
Didn't you just say that?
Absolutely.
Then you just said that. You just talked about it. So that's what was great about this video, and what's great about the understanding of white supremacy, because the points we're going to make, she's going to help emphasize it and help give legs to it from their standpoint. Because I mean, everything, well, what you were saying, she just said in that little piece. So, hey, who is this? Welcome, Malik. Welcome, my brother. Welcome, Uptight 24. Welcome. I'm glad y'all up in here. Let's get this thing. Let's learn. Let's get our learn on the day. I'm glad we got as many people in the building as we do. Please hit that like button. Let's bust through this shadow ban, and YouTube ain't finna keep us down, because we're gonna keep learning, building, and growing. So let's go.
Nationalist, white supremacist, hateful prepper with a closet full of weapons, living next door to everybody. And if you had asked any of my neighbors, they probably would have said, that's a really nice family and she's a sweetheart. And the truth is, I had to be a sweetheart, because that's how my community, my religious organization, who needed new members to come in so that they could profit off of them, that's how they got you. I was the bait. My sweet little smiling trad wife face, my beautiful little children, our pretty home, and our nice public-facing personalities, that was the bait that got other people into the religion, and it still is today. But that nice exterior didn't change what was inside. So today, I want to shine a light on what was inside, and specifically why my lifelong childhood indoctrination, grooming, brainwashing led me into the larger cult of Christian nationalism, white supremacy, eventually MAGA, and voting for Donald Trump in 2016. This is where I usually say, let's dive in. Let's tentatively see if I can dip a toe into this cesspool of hate that used to be me.
Let me say that better for her. We're going to delve into the cesspool of hate that is her foundation. And I want to be clear about that. she may be moving. I'm not questioning today. We're not even really focusing on which path she's moving in. We're focusing on what she's saying, but that is her foundation. So I think she say in this video, she was 50 years old. She came to the light when she was about 44. So for like 6 years, she's been moving away from the MAGA, Christian nationalism, staunch racist stuff. And so she's like, I'm not this anymore, but that is her foundation. I just want to make that clear. That is her foundation. But did you listen to what she said? She was talking about how they really are, how they really behave, how they really feel about us versus the presentation, versus the guys, versus the costume that they present to the world. And they present that to the world to recruit other white people, because the idea is we are good people. We're good Christian, God-fearing people. Jesus loves us. God loves us. We're supposed to love the world. We're going out here making the world better. And at the same time, if their supremacy is, if you are not a white Christian nationalist, then you are of the devil, and we should go to war against you. She just said that this is what we presented on the outside, but on the inside, it's a whole different ball game.
And I know you said we aren't, really delving into what direction she's moving in, but based on what she said, how they are indoctrinated, right? They're on the outside, they look like these perfectly nice people, but they got all this stuff going on, behind the scenes. And so she's on a platform, and she actually has a pretty large platform.
She does.
There's a significant financial incentive for her to at least tell us that she done changed her ways, right?
Right.
She is very adept at presenting one thing, but thinking, feeling, and doing something else with, behind the scenes.
And she just said that.
Right.
No, but that's good. I'm glad you said that, because we do need to state that does need to be put on the table. I didn't want us to get hung up on whether she for real or not, because I think me and you pretty much on the same page that we don't believe she changed. Right. But it's just it's interesting, the mindset, because we're also looking at the psychopathic mindsets, terroristic mindsets, because you got to be a psychopathic terrorist to do the things that they did to the people in the world.
Right.
So yeah, like Red Bull Vodka said, still don't trust her, not at all. Wouldn't let her watch my dog. Okay. Christine said, racism, white supremacy is a taught behavior. No one is born racist. Right. It was, and she talked about it. It was ingrained in her family, and their ways of life. So if people only research history of the Idumeans and Neanderthal, your perception be different about the species of complex cells. That's funny. I like that. When they say God, they're talking about that God, not our God. Yeah, right. They're definitely not praying to the same God that black folk with a mind that are praying to. Some of these other black folk who was indoctrinated, I don't know about them, but not to us. Is we on something else. A boxer may lose attributes, but never forgets how to throw a punch, regardless of mental health. There you go. Integration was a terrible thing for us. We don't be having these comments. We don't, because we're scared. We're afraid. Think about it. Black people in public, and PhD, you tell me if you've seen this before. Black people in public will call another black person a nigger in public. They say nigga this, nigga that, nigga. But when it comes to white people, they will point to their hand.
Yes.
What? I'm like, how insane are you?
Right. Now, luckily, I'm from a place where, Cracker was just, I had to learn not to call him that.
Right. Exactly.
But yes, I've definitely seen what you're saying. But, I know you want to read the comment.
No, go ahead. But go ahead. Say it.
So and I know we hear this a lot, nobody's born racist.
Mm-hmm.
It's a learned behavior, or it's taught. But, I wonder about that, right? Just because if we think about what Dr. Francis Cress Welsing told us about genetic annihilation, right? And self-preservation being the first law of nature, right? It's a survival tactic for them. And so I just wonder how much of it do they really have to be taught, or is that something that is kind of innately kicks in order for them to protect and preserve themselves?
Well, that's a good, if you want to finish, go ahead, but that's a good question. Go ahead.
And so, I know for us, just because of how we are oriented in our worldview, yes, certainly we would have to be taught something like that. But I want us to not make the mistake of thinking that we are in any shape, form, or fashion the same as these people, right? For us, it might not be. For them, I'm not so sure, just because I think they are so different in every way that it might be something that is innate to them.
Well, you got me. You made me think about epigenetics, though, right? Because we're always talking about epigenetics in the negative fashion of how it affected us over the generations. But what epigenetics could have affected them as well, as far as to being able to pass down these terroristic, psychopathic traits.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now I'm with you on that. That makes sense. That definitely makes sense. Uptight talk about, I love he called them the Biscos. So I think that is so funny. I always have to say it, Bisco. Always cosplaying to Jesus. Right. All right, let me get back into the video.
Ready on the set? Let's try this again.
I'm Jenny Gage, and this is Life.
Let's get it.
If you have a 700 plus credit score, you qualify for Chase's new program where you could access up to
Penn State a couple of years ago. They're from a local novel. Before I start this video, I do feel like I need to share a little bit about who I am today for anyone who's just passing through, and this is the first video that you're watching. 7 years ago, I walked away from the Mormon church, and my abusive ex-husband of 24 years stepped away from my trad wife life, actually lost everything, every person in my family. My mom, my dad, my sisters, nieces, and nephews, and literally everybody. I'm a virtual orphan in the world, completely without a tribe, and I wouldn't have anyone today if I hadn't met and fallen in love with a really beautiful man. We are raising 7 children together in ages from 14 to 28, I guess. Those are already raised. And because of everything I know from within this organization as someone who lived like this for my entire first 44 years of life, I have spent every day of the past 6 years doing interviews, podcasts, documentaries, writing my own articles, and managing my own social media platforms with 400,000 followers over on TikTok, my following here on YouTube, so I can shine a light into the darkness. So no, I'm not just some girl who decided to hop off the Trump train because of the Epstein files. This has been a long work in progress, and I have had huge impact on reversing some of the damage done by people like myself. And again, I was born and raised, I was indoctrinated, and it's really important for people to understand that there are new batches of children being indoctrinated into this hatred every day. I also think it's important to share with you that I haven't scripted this video. I just have a list of bullet points here to kind of remind me where I'm going, because I want
DSB.
My thoughts and experiences that I share with you from my past to be as organic and authentic as possible. I wanted this discussion with you to be very impromptu. So, why I voted for Trump.
Now, before she gets into why she voted for Trump and all those different things, remember, I want you all to remember what she said. She talked about her abusive ex-husband, and she's going to talk about her abusive ex-husband again. But I want you all to pay attention to what she's talking about when she talks about her abusive ex-husband. And then I want y'all to pay attention to how she talks when she talks about Donald Trump and that masculine white supremacist man that she was attracted to. Because all of the evil that her ex-husband exhibited at the same time turned her on. And that's what she was attracted to. And you're going to see when she talks about Donald Trump. So listen.
In 2016, why...
hold on real quick. PhD Diva Battle Genja said, can you speak on the epigenetics that predisposes these ideas of ecological threat response?
Right. And so in his next comment, he mentions the Iceman inheritance. And it's funny because I'm actually reading that book currently, right? And so he talks about how white people evolving in a frigid environment has led to a lot of the cultural behaviors that we see them expressing in Western society, right? So the aggression, extreme aggression, the need to dominate people, the sucking up and the natural resources for their own purposes and not putting anything back into the land. So I certainly think evolutionary psychology talks about that too.
Right.
So I definitely think the fact that they evolved in a frigid environment where for long periods of the year nothing grew, right? And so that's where that control or mastery over nature came in, right? They had to be able to do some artificial stuff in order to survive, in order to force the land to produce, fruit. Whereas, when you evolve in a hot, climate with surrounded by water, you don't have to do that. It grows. The environment bears fruit naturally. Right. And so it's just there for you. So yeah, I definitely think that where they evolved had a big impact on how they act.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. Environment, all of those things, the scarcity mindset. So yes. And like DSB is also saying, thinking about what you just said and listening to her and thinking about our enemies. White women are the teachers of white supremacy. White women taught all of this stuff, this survival of the fittest. Those lessons were taught to the sons and passed down from one generation to the next. So thinking about that, there's no evidence of a racist gene. The fear of genetic annihilation is taught, not inherently genetic. No, I agree. Yeah, we on the same page. We don't think it's taught it's a racist gene, but looking at it, I do think we need to look at it from an epigenetic standpoint as well, though. I don't know. I
don't know about that though, right? So where would the evidence of this racist gene come from? Because most of the people in genetic studies, studying the biome and mapping it and all that, those are white and non-black people. They're not going to come and say, see, right here we got a racist gene.
No, that's true. And that's why I do think we need to study. But I think that looking at it through epigenetics is a door into that.
Right.
Yeah. No, I'm with you because we need to look at it. So I'm with you. I am with you. But looking at the epigenetics, because we talk about it with black people all the time, but we never talk about it with the oppressors. So, all right. So let's let Rebecca keep talking to us. And please hit that like button as you come in. I appreciate you all being up in here.
He was my hero. Why I jumped on board the MAGA train full steam ahead. Here we go. Donald Trump sold me on a mission. Make America great again. And the Democrats simply didn't do that and haven't done that. If you'd like to hear a little bit more about this, then please check out my interview with Daniela of Knitting Cult Lady that we did this past week, because she dives into how that is the number one foundational reason why people get involved in cults. You have something, it's all about the mission. And you will overlook how bad the leadership is if they have a mission that you believe in. So I did a video yesterday where I talked about how my childhood growing up in the 70s and 80s had felt really good to me. I started raising kids in the 90s, and then all of a sudden we had iPhones and this huge shift in the way society worked. And for somebody like me who's 50 years old, I saw society going in this direction that I thought was kind of alarming. And my Christian nationalist, alt-right, super conservative, white supremacist religion that I was part of was telling me that all of these things were signs of end times. And as my religious community was fighting back against...
Miss Ashley, I sure did. I read your poem yesterday. I sure did. You did speak on that.
These horrible shifts in society, Donald Trump came along, and all of a sudden we had this president who was on board with the same mission that my religious community was already engaged in, and that I, as an individual, was engaged in. And that was to make America great again, to turn back the clock and restore the way things always were. And it has been kind of interesting to me after leaving MAGA, after leaving the Mormon Church, after leaving religious communities entirely, to go back and study political science from the very beginning of the creation of America and see how different parties had very specific missions and agendas, and how that the Democratic Party has really kind of lost sight of that. While certainly the Democratic Party has a platform and policies that they support, go ask the average American on the street, if you could tell me about the Democratic Party in like one sentence, I think that most Americans would say abortion rights and gay marriage. When I've asked that question on my platforms, and again, I reach millions of people on my multiple platforms, those are the two answers that I get the most, followed by feminism, and that's usually followed by a comma, and the breakdown of traditional family. I also get socialism, which is the breakdown and corruption of our economic system, and forced environmentalism. Those are the top 5 answers that I get from people. And again, the Democratic Party has not attempted to brand itself the way that Donald Trump did. So his mission, Make America Great Again, was already my mission, and that got my vote.
Because, America wasn't racist enough. But that's what Dr. Francis Cress Welsing talks about, that fear of genetic annihilation. People said Dr. Francis Cress Welsing was crazy. They said she didn't know what she was talking about. A lot of people challenged her theory on that. And now white people are coming out and saying that they fear that they will not exist genetically anymore. And it's like, hey, she wasn't crazy.
Right. The interesting thing about what she said, the top 5 answers that people associate with the Democratic Party, none of it had anything to do with Black people. And Black people are their base, right? None of it.
Right. We crazy. We are crazy. What's the people vote blue no matter who? Why? And this is not an appeal to the right, but it's like question everything and everybody. So yeah. And it's going to be interesting when she continues to talk about the right wing radical racist guy versus the far left wing soy boy type. How she gets into it, and how one gets her going and one doesn't, and how she was married to the far right racist extremist guy, and now she's married to the far left racist, or far left, and I would still say far racist, far left racist soy boy, because they racist too. They just try to be nice with it.
Right. But she said, how she'll go on to talk about the difference between the two of them, and, the strong masculinity of the right guy. But her first husband was going across her head. Right. So don't forget that part, right?
Exactly.
All of that goes together.
Right. And then thinking about that, when she talks about how, because she talks about Donald Trump in a lustful way at some point. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So yeah, but you're gonna hear it.
In 2016.
If you live in a Florida zip code and have 0 DUIs in the last 5 years, listen.
The next reason I voted for Donald Trump was that he was a strong, charismatic leader. Again, I was a church girly, and I was used to a bunch of men in charge. There were no women in charge. Women in my church could only be in charge of other women and children. Once a boy turned 12 years old, he could then be in a leadership position over women and have power over them. And I couldn't even lead anything over 12-year-old boys. So I was totally groomed to love this strong man like Trump. And that grooming also led me to spend 24 years with a horrible monster of a man who was very similar to Trump, with the grandiose narcissism stuff and some mental health problems and abuse and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, that was my upbringing. Church girlies, tend to go for those, quote, real men, the alphas. In fact, I was really deeply afraid of kind, empathetic, benevolent men, like any of those beta type of guys, the simps, because to me, they might be gay and they were not the men that God had designed them to be. Feminine and masculine roles had been deeply indoctrinated into my brain. So Trump it got me going. Not to dig too much into my personal life, but I do just want to kind of soften what a horrible person I was by saying that my partner of the past 6 years is everything that I had been afraid of as a church girly, and my life is so happy. He's incredible. The real man stuff that I was sold was bullshit. Next up, build a wall.
Right there?
I was a white supremacist.
Go ahead.
So she talked about, those strong, masculine, very gender role type men, and that she was afraid of the soy boys because they might be gay. Right. But whenever any of those right-wing men get together in large numbers, they breaking Grindr, right? So Charlie Chris, what was his name? Charlie Kirk, Fume, they brought down Grindr. They crashed it. The Republican National Convention, they crashed Grindr.
Yeah. Well, we know what they do behind closed doors. It's all a facade. They're into a lot of hedonistic stuff. Like it's like I guess you could say sexual deviance. They're into a lot of sexual deviance, but even her, like, it's like, if I'm a racist, then I want the man that's gonna kick my ass. But if I'm not a racist, then I want the dude who might be gay. Like, what? What? Like, she's still crazy as hell.
Right? You can't win, sis.
It's like, because it's like her people messed her mind up because it's she going from one extreme to the next, and that's just not what it is, babe. But okay. Let's let her get back to the line.
In every way, shape, or form possible to be a white supremacist. I would encourage you to go to my Substack. I've listed the paywall in this article so that everybody can read it and see inside the mind of a very young girl. And I like to post pictures of myself when I was a 3-year-old girl, when my white supremacist indoctrination started, and I began to see people with brown skin as evil monsters. I believed that America was a sacred land that God had created and preserved just for my chosen rich white.
And I that's dumb as hell. I just want to say that's dumb as hell. And I believe that's the stuff that they were being taught through the Book of Mormon. The Book of Mormon, I believe. But just listen to the stuff that they were indoctrinated to believe. Like the first, that America was the land that was given to white Americans. Like out of all the land in the world. Like
right. Given to them, but they had to come and slaughter people to get it.
Now, think about what you just listened. Let's listen, because she's gonna cover that.
Ancestors and myself and our descendants, so Jesus could come, because I was part of an organization that had like the whole end of days thing right in the name, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Our whole obsession was prepping. If you've seen Lori Vallow Daybell and any of this prepping stuff coming out of Idaho, like that was our whole entire life. That's the mission of the organization that I came from. So we were waiting for Jesus to come back to the earth to rule and reign. And where was he going to rule and reign from? From Jackson County, Missouri, which was the original location of the Garden of Eden.
Do you hear this? Do you all hear this is psychopathic. She said Indiana. Well, that's where the Garden. Hold up. She said that's where the Garden of Eden was, in Indiana.
Right.
That's psychopathic. like they were. So basically, a group of cult-like people, because it's her and another white lady. They talk about the Mormon, the white Christian nationalist Mormon church, them being like cult-like people, but they really got people to believe that the Garden of Eden was in Jackson County, Indiana. They stupid. Wow. That okay.
The Garden of Eden. And what grows in Indiana?
Oh, I mean Missouri. My bad. They said Missouri. They said Jackson County, Missouri. But still,
Jackson.
Missouri, Indiana, hell, Quincy, Florida. It don't matter. They wrong. They wrong. Shoot. let's let her say it one more time.
Rule and reign. And where was he going to rule and reign from? From Jackson County, Missouri, which was the original location of the Garden of Eden.
Wow.
So this is where the Christian nationalism part gets really, really, really big.
Wow.
Capital letter Christian nationalism with exclamation points in bold print. This land was a land preserved by God.
Now listen to that. Listen to what she just said. If they believe that the Garden of Eden was in Missouri and this was a land preserved by God, when they say make America great again, now we have a lot more context. Like, think about that. We got a lot more context of what a lot of them mean by make America great again, because they believe this is their holy land as well.
But just the delusion of it all, right?
Yes.
Missouri, what is it? Jackson County, Missouri is the Garden of Eden. And so we know the Garden of Eden was lush. They didn't have to go nowhere for nothing. They could eat from the tree, the fruit of the tree.
Right.
Jackson County, Missouri grow corn and soybeans.
man, but that's the psychology of a white supremacist. This is, and remember, she had children and passed this psychology down before she claimed she had a change.
Lord.
Excuse me, FM, excuse me, my brother. She's an MF. The lady on the screen is an MF, excuse me. FM, she crazy. Jackson County, Missouri. Now I got to go visit Jackson County, Missouri. We got to go pray. We got to go to Jackson County, Missouri, and have a prayer circle. Cause
that's the pilgrimage now.
Yeah, we ain't know Jesus was from Missouri. Damn. So why he speak Aramaic then? Why he speak that language if he's from Missouri? I don't know, man. Maybe they. Oh yeah, that's right. They read from the Book of Mormonism. So okay.
For just his chosen people, so that Jesus Christ could come down and rule from Jackson County, Missouri, which my church called Adam Ondai Amen, and everybody was going to be burned prior to his coming, literally burned, actual burned, except for us chosen people who had been endowed in the temple of the Lord and cloaked with his righteousness. I genuinely wanted an all-white nation, and I wanted to send the Mexicans back to Mexico. Sometimes I like to think, what would old me have done in this instance? And I think that if Trump had changed the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America back then, when I was this white supremacist, I think that I would have literally jumped for joy. I would have had a Gulf of America bumper sticker on the back of my little Honda Odyssey minivan full of rich white children that I was raising in my country club behind a gate in my $1 million home, and my privileged fucking white people life that, by the way, was built on land stolen from the Tohono O'odham and the Hohokam and the Navajos, and built by slave labor. So Donald Trump hating all those people that God hated and that my community had taught me to hate, that definitely got my vote. Okay, the next reason why I voted for Donald.
God has hate. God has hate. Their God has hate. So if their God has, and so I've always said this. Right? Because she just said it. God has hate. Her God has hate. So if their God has hate, it will be natural for them to have hate. So if we're looking at the culture of white supremacy, right, and as far back as we can go to where they had some kind of semblance of a God, we can go to Greek mythology. So who was the head god of Greek mythology? Zeus. Zeus was a serial essayist. Zeus, Poseidon, what's the one in the underworld? Hades. Yeah, Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades. If you go back and you read Greek mythology, and I used to think about this when I was in school reading Greek mythology, because they would give us a story about Zeus turning into an eagle and going in and taking some woman's innocence or something, and then They were romanticized, and I'm sitting there thinking, your God commits SA. So if your God commit SA, what type of ideologies or behaviors do the people have that follow a God that commit SA? She follows a God that has hate, that hates, that expresses hate, and is a bigot. So if her God has hate in his heart, and if her God is a bigot, why wouldn't they be?
Absolutely. And I think it's interesting that you mentioned, Greek mythology, because what's his name? Nick Fuentes recently talked about how, Christianity, their Christianity predates Jesus, right? And it goes back to Greek and Roman.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's the question. How your God got all this hate and could do all this, spur you to do all this crazy stuff? And he's saying, no, we ain't even talking about that God. We talking about the one going back to ancient Rome and ancient Greece.
Right. And those gods were vile people. Like Zeus would just be up in Mount Olympus, just chilling, eating Cheetos. You see a girl walking down the street. Ooh, I'm trying to hit that. Forget if she wanted or not. He gonna turn to whatever she like and just take it. And that's your God. No wonder they were such warlike people, on top of how they grew up in the environments. So yeah.
Trump is that I was a Christian nationalist, and he didn't believe in freedom of religion as much as he did in forcing Christianity on everybody else. And I know that he said that a lot in this election about how that, like, it's really important for us to have God. He has people in the White House praying. He has instituted this committee on religion, and he's doing everything that he can to get rid of actual religious freedom. And that is exactly what I wanted. I did not want any other religion to be able to be practiced except for mine. I wanted to root out all religion. There's a scripture, every knee shall bow and every tongue confess that Jesus is the Christ. And I wore religious underwear throughout my life from the time I was 20 years old and got married until I left the Mormon church at age 44. So for 24 years, I wore this religious underwear. And this religious underwear had a little mark in the knee, just this little thing that they embroider into these garments, and it goes right over your knee. And here's a little picture. And that knee mark literally indicates that every knee shall bow and every tongue confess that Jesus is the Christ. And I was fine if that was done by force. If we forcefully had to make every knee bow and every tongue confess that Jesus was the way, totally fine. Next reason I voted for Trump was money.
She was fine with force. She was fine with the gospel being spread by the sword. She was fine with making everybody bow down to believe what they want to believe. If that ain't white supremacy, I don't know what that is.
Right. But that's the European worldview, right? So first they focus on differences, right? And those differences are intolerable to them. And I still haven't figured out quite yet why difference is so threatening to them. But they believe in dealing with differences through intervention and oppression. And so that's where all the violence comes in. And so I think as Black people, we have to understand and be able to look around us and see when the climate is changing, right? Because we're in a we're in a time where the climate is quickly changing. And I keep telling Black people, hey, they ratcheting up the violence against us. And a lot of us would be like, what? No, they not. Oh, they just up there talking. Yeah, but talking spurs people to action. Right.
Especially a united people who are used to being spurred to action like that.
Right. Yeah. And so a lot of us can't even recognize when the landscape changing, when they starting to kind of close in on us. You know, it's almost like a horror movie where you got one Black person and a group of white people, and they don't understand until it's way too late that, hey, you on the menu, nigga.
Because we don't study our enemies. And that's why on here on this channel, we're going to continue to study our enemies and study every little thing about them. We're going to learn them because we don't study our enemies. And we believe we can whoop everybody, but we've been getting our asses whooped. How we can whoop everybody? Like, don't let that fight that happened at the river in what it was, Alabama or Mississippi, whatever.
Alabama.
Don't let, because we let them little one-off butt whoopings. We let them make us think that we powerful people, but we still, we'll say that, and then the next day come complain about being oppressed. Well, which one is it?
Right.
So yeah, oppressed people, or rather free people who are powerful don't complain about being oppressed. Let's say that. So, all right, back to Rebecca.
I believed in the prosperity gospel where God blessed his chosen children with riches. This was taught by members of my church. This was reinforced by my rich-ass religious community. I believed that if I kept the gospel, that I would be prospered, and that people who were poor, it's just because they were evil. I belonged to the richest church on the planet. My former church was recently written up in, I think it was the Wall Street Journal. I'll try to pull the article and put it in the description here. And the journalist said that they have so much money that they have left the
Right, FM. Right. We ain't stupid.
Stratosphere. They are no longer part of the global economy. They're so rich. They're almost $1 trillion organization. They bring in billions of dollars a month. So money was God's love language. So seeing the world through this filter, the prosperity gospel, Donald Trump.
Did y'all hear what she just said?
Right.
Let me let her say it again, then we gon'. So listen to what she just said about God and love and God's love language.
Part of the global economy. They're so rich. They're almost $1 trillion organization. They bring in billions of dollars a month. So money was God's love language.
The white folk then gave God a love language and made it something material. Not even something God could use. How the hell God used dollar money? How?
But it just goes to show you how they are going to use every tool in their arsenal to advance their own interests.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But now, because the book that they purport to follow says it'll be easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich man to get into heaven. But now she's sitting here telling me that they think money is God's love language.
Yeah. So they'll tell us one thing, and that's why they gave us the slave Bible.
Absolutely.
They tell us one thing. Hey, because I remember having a conversation with a young lady. I maybe was like my second year in college, and there was a young lady in my mom's front yard, and we were having a conversation about the Bible and about religion, and she had been led to believe that, as a young black girl, had been led to believe that God doesn't want us to be prosperous. God wants black people to be poor, because the poorer you are, the more God loves you. And so these are some of the lessons that have been taught through the church, but they're not understanding the origins of these messages. So they're teaching black people in church to go be poor, while teaching white people that money is God's love language. I'm just saying, man, we have to put this back up here. And FM, yes, they had magic draws. Can you believe that? Hey, magic draws every knee. Because I'm confused about them draws, because she had the line on the knee for every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess. So where was the tongue mark? And so go back to that sexual deviance of the magic draws. I need to get me a shirt that say magic draws. FM, we finna go into business, my brother. All right.
So seeing the world through this filter, the prosperity gospel, Donald Trump just completely got me. I watched The Apprentice, like every single episode, and the whole thing, the helicopter flying over all the high rises in New York City, and the trench coat, the gold faucets, the chandeliers, the marble staircases, they got me. To me, they were a sign that he had God's protection, and his ability to make and manage money would then bless my life. It has been really interesting for me, having escaped my religious organization and hearing from so many people, especially on my social medias and different support groups and live events that I've participated in, from people who've left evangelicism and other Christian faiths. how that a lot of other Christian religions actually teach like poverty and not being a greedy bastard. And I think that in some ways was unique to my Mormon religion. And again, I acknowledge the irony of an atheist girl quoting the Bible, but Yeshua preached humility and giving away all of your riches for other people and poverty and all those things. So a prosperity Christian gospel, those words should never be strung together in the same sentence, in my opinion. The next reason why I voted for Donald Trump, his woman was silent. This is biblical. And it was a huge part of the indoctrination and the lifestyle that I lived. I was, after all, a Mormon trad wife, and a lot of my life was just sitting down and shutting up. I was used to a very specific patriarchy with only men in charge. It was called the true order of heaven. So even when I was inside of our religious buildings, the temples that you may see in your communities, my face was veiled. I was covered up when we were in the prayer circle because women are supposed to be silent.
Ready to win big with Zyn? In the Win with Zyn sweepstakes, you could win $100,000 or one of 5.
Okay, what's funny on this point is I secretly loved and voted for Barack Obama, but Michelle didn't know her place. And I had a great disdain for her. And as we saw her kind of interacting publicly after we elected him, I kind of regretted voting for him just because the first lady didn't know her place.
She thought he was soft.
And I hated Hillary Clinton so much that in college, and I was broke. My family did not have money at all when I went to school. So I was living off of like this shoestring budget. Sometimes couldn't even afford to wash my laundry, but I managed to scrounge up money, put a check in the mail to Rush Limbaugh's merch store and ordered this Hillary Clinton shirt. It was like Rodham Hood. She robs from the poor and gives to everybody. And I wore this shirt to class regularly at my racist, sexist, prepping church college in Rexburg, Idaho. The next reason why I voted for Trump, have you heard that saying, the enemy of my enemies is my friend? He hated everyone. He was always at war. Me too. Mexicans, China. So like the Chinese virus thing.
Let me run it back because I think listen to what she just said. Shout out to PhD. Shout out to Professor Carl Tone Jones. They're always saying it. She just said it.
You heard that saying, the enemy of my enemies is my friend? He hated everyone. He was always at war. Always at war. They're always at war. They hate everybody who are not them. You see, we did the breakdown when the Hodge twins asked the white people when they build their own all-white community, even though they've been out here shucking and jiving and samboing for the white people. They asked them, when y'all build y'all all-white community, can we come? They told them no. Y'all, we appreciate your shucking and jiving, but you got too much nigga blood in you. Right. Right. You know, the interesting thing with this, she said, you know, well, first off, she said she got a shirt that said, you know, Rodham Hood, because she robbed from the poor and gave to everybody else. But if they believe that money is Jesus's love language, then they should have been all for that, right? Because the poor people ain't supposed to have nothing anyway. God don't love them. The contradictions do not end. They probably people who smoke crack with a Dare shirt on. Come on, the contradict, because she's not even, I don't even think she's listening to what she's saying. Right. I mean, because it's just absolutely crazy. But then she said, talked about Michelle Obama not knowing her place. And now previously she said in their religion, she couldn't even lead anything over a 12-year-old boy. Right. And right. I wonder, how are you getting these women to go along? Like, I know she said they start them young, but even still, because I feel like, you know, the Black church has a fair amount of indoctrination with regard to women, but I was just never able to go along with that. So how are they getting all of these masses of women to go along with their own subjugation? Right. And the scary thing is that there are increasingly Black men trying to
identify and with and even advocate for that type of thing for Black women.
Right.
And it's just crazy. And it really just signals that many of us have had our minds co-opted by white people, because in our minds, we're white people.
Right. Those Black men in the red pill space, I don't think a lot of them understand like the origins of the red pill are like white dudes who come out of stuff like this, like white guys who didn't have a good dating history, who hate everybody. But it's still a white supremacist or even a white American ideology. It's not an African centered ideology or even a Black American ideology. But I look at the story of Tattoo Batul. And I have that on this channel. Tattoo Batul was the wife of Menelik II. And she was a great compliment to him. She was a queen. He was the king. She was the queen. She was a great compliment to him. And he picked her because of that. No man or woman wants to be with somebody that's combative with them. But at the same time, it's about respect for your partner. And we shouldn't be out here picking somebody who, as a man, I would never pick a woman who I feel is like beneath me. I'll never pick a woman who I feel just needs to be quiet all the time and all these things. So like, I want my woman to have a mind. And that's why I talk about the story of Tattoo Batul, because Menelik II loved her because she was a great compliment to him. She was a great wife to him. She was a great queen to him. Like, she wasn't trying to challenge him. She was trying to help him. So if you know how to pick somebody that's trying to help you versus challenge you, you don't have to worry about trying to tell somebody to be quiet and stay in their place. But once again, we do operate through white supremacist mindsets. And us Black people, we're insane as well. And we don't really know what real love is. So we go out picking bad anyway.
Right. And so, yes, I certainly, having a partner that is a compliment to you, because, Black women are very capable as well. And so if we're working together and both being capable, then, great things can happen. Right. Given again, if we're going back to where these people evolved, it makes sense that their women would, now that I'm thinking about it, be more play in the background and be okay with that, right? Because if you're in a cold environment where things aren't growing for long periods of time, those men have to go out and hunt to try to get some meat or something to bring back, and the woman's pretty much gonna stay back with the children, whatnot. So I guess that makes sense. Maybe that's just a part of their cultural,
for them. Yeah. Well, but we can't adopt that. We can't, and us trying to adopt that is helping to cause a lot more of the strife. So, Sion, we are definitely going. And somebody asked, "Is this the same PhD from Sharon Channel?" I don't know what Sharon Channel is. I guess I don't think so, CD, because neither one of us know who Sharon is. The only Sharon I know, she worked in the healthcare field. So she don't do YouTube. So. So thank you for the $5 super chat though, but no, this is the PhD from FAMU.
Hey,
you know what I'm talking about? So all right, let's get back to Rebecca. I don't know her real name, but her name gonna be Rebecca today.
Me too. Mexicans, China. So like the Chinese virus thing, that would have resonated with me back then. He was always at war with everybody, and I was raised in a community that we were always under attack. The persecution complex was probably my predominant reflex. So I absolutely loved that about him. It made me feel like somebody else was fighting the fights that I was powerless to fight. I'm halfway through my list and I feel like stopping. Next, he didn't seem to believe in baby killing, and that was the number one reason why I voted Republican. I didn't even know what the Democratic platform was about. I just knew that God had told us that if we killed babies, that the end times would come, Armageddon would wipe us out, and I would burn in Mormon hell, which is called the Celestial Kingdom. Next up, Israel was God's nation, and Trump talked a lot about supporting Israel. And to me, Israel was number one because they were the chosen people. So when Jesus came back to Jackson County, Missouri, he was also going to have like a winter home over in Jerusalem where he would rule that part of the world. So to me, the Jews were God's other chosen people who had lost the chosenness. And then we had replaced them, but we were all going to merge back because the Bible, after all, said that Jesus was going to like beam down and land on the Temple Mount. And that's where that scripture comes from. Every knee shall bow and every tongue confess that Jesus is the Christ. So to me, the Jews are like this brother from another era. And we all were going to be grafted into the same tree. That's what the scripture said. Okay, the next reason why I voted for Trump was America, America, America is what my bullet point says. I was deeply indoctrinated in American excellence, and as a Christian nationalist, God had written the Constitution. God had brought Christopher Columbus over from the old world to the new world. It actually says that in the Book of Mormon. There are scriptures that say that Christopher Columbus was led here by God so that all those end days things could happen.
Nah, CD, this ain't the same. This not the same PhD. There are other PhDs out there. This ain't the same PhD, but this the good one. We can assure you.
And so the gospel could be restored. So America to me was God's chosen land. So anytime Donald Trump was like, America's the best, America's great, we're the best country in the world, that just gave me goosebumps. And all of this is probably why I now wear black on the 4th of July for 7 years running. You will not find an American flag anywhere. Why do I want a flag with like the blood of ancestors striped across it? Like now I'm so anti-American as a reflex to this. Like not that I'm anti the citizens and the people and my neighbors, and I do appreciate having the freedoms that I have, but the whole cult of Americana with all of the American excellence, it just makes me want to barf. I cannot go to a fireworks show. I now see the excellence of humans. People are beautiful, and a border on a map is really meaningless. Like it's hard for me to actually say the word America on these videos because I was so abused by the cult of Americana that was predominant in my cult of origin. Okay, next up, I loved that he was mean. I lived in a religious community that went out of its...
So, listen to everything she just said. That's just another nail in the coffin of her ass is crazy. And all of those people are crazy. But look at the level of insanity you have to exist in that. But that to me, it gives some kind of explanation to the level of insanity we have to be these docile people who don't mind being oppressed and looking for a comfortable place. Because in order for these people to dominate over others, they need buy-in. They need people to believe the craziness that they tell them. So hey, they probably get in the room and think about the dumbest shit that they can think of. We're gonna tell them that they need to believe in worshiping ladybugs or something like that, and they come back out. Everybody, God said believe in ladybugs. Now everybody wearing ladybug everything, and if you don't wear ladybug paraphernalia, then you're going to hell. And hell is down the street. But they believe.
Right. And I'm sitting here just in disbelief, like how do you get all these millions of people to go along with this craziness? Because the last thing she said was, and I liked him because he was mean. But y'all talk about all this God, but you like him because of all this nastiness that he got and all these things that are in direct contradiction with what the book that is supposed to be the word of God says that he likes and loves and all these other things. So
and I'm glad you just said that, because that's the difference in the Book of Mormon and the Bible, right? Now the Bible is supposed to be an infallible word, not reduplicated, not transformed in any type of way, but that's exactly what the Book of Mormon is. White dude said, I'm gonna make my own version of Christianity in my reflection, in my way, in my thoughts. And then people say, you know what? Yes, I believe this Bible. And so Jesus from Missouri. That's another shirt. I'm gonna put that on the shirt. Jesus is from Missouri. God damn. So I wonder how close to St. Louis.
And why he ain't cleaning it up?
You know what I'm saying? So if St. Louis, if he was born in St. Louis versus Jackson County, would that matter? Like, you know, like it's crazy. Like, because when you sit down and you think about it, it's stupid. But that's the thing. It's not about having critical thinking. It's not about being able to think. They don't even foster the ability to think critically. And that's the same thing for us as oppressed people. If the people that they're signing up to be in that army aren't thinkers, why would they want us to be thinkers? Why would they even promote education and real critical thinking and real upward mobility for us? Yeah, so okay. All right, so we're gonna let her talk for a little bit more, then get into some of this marimba Ani, and this might be a two-parter because it's getting good. So,
way to fight against Prop 8, which is just gay people being able to marry each other and have a life partner, and we fought against that with a ton of men.
Nah, Moses from Jacksonville, Florida, and Moses got a gold grill on the bottom. So, Jacksonville, Florida, that's where Moses from.
And like really, really in super mean ways. I was part of a religious community that shunned one of our own family members when he came out as gay, because he was no longer Mormon, but most of all, he was gay. My entire family collectively shunned this young man and other members of our family, and I was a part of that. Of note, my giant family has shunned me for the past 7 years. I have not seen my own parents, almost anyone in my family, since I walked away from my church and started joining them. Here's a story that I told once on my TikTok that I'm deeply ashamed of. We had these neighbors across the street from us that were non-members. They weren't Mormons. It was an elderly couple, like maybe like in their, well, funny, like probably my age, like 50s or 60s. Yeah, they're probably my age. And
Crypto, she says she doesn't think like that anymore. That's what she's saying. The whole purpose of this video is to expose the white nationalist viewpoint and their ideologies and their psychology. But she's saying she's 6 years clean of racism. That's what she's saying.
And they had a son who was in his early 20s, who was born deaf, who lived with them. And whenever a new person moved into my cul-de-sac, very predatorily, I tried to share my gospel with them so that they could receive Jesus and be saved. And well, funny, like probably my age, 50s or 60s. Yeah, they're probably my age. And they had a son who was in his early 20s, who was born deaf, who lived with them. And whenever a new person moved into my cul-de-sac, very predatorily, I tried to share my gospel with them so that they could receive Jesus and be saved. And they kind of bit. They started coming to some church events with us. One Christmas, we had some missionaries from my church who spoke sign language. So I arranged this whole thing where one night we all knocked on their door. They had taught us some Christmas songs in sign language. And we stood in the street under the street light and we sign languaged, what was it? Silent night, holy night. I don't remember all of it. But we did sign language Christmas carols for this family. I will never forget this mom and dad and their son and just the tears streaming down their faces. And it was this beautiful moment of human connecting with human. And then not long after that, we invited them to come to church and they refused and said that they didn't want to know any more about our church. And I dropped them like a hot potato and have never spoken to them ever since. Did never speak to them in the cul-de-sac, because I knew that they had rejected the gospel and I didn't want them in my life anymore.
It couldn't have been that they rejected you. It couldn't have been her. It's them and it's the gospel. They don't want Jesus. It can't be her, you know.
But the way that she deals with that rejection of Jesus is pretty wild.
Yeah. You are dead to me. You're no longer human. And if we can, we'll take you out because you don't like Jesus the way I like Jesus. That's the definition of extremism.
Right. And also, you know, when she talks about, well, she's about to talk about what she did, then we start getting into witchcraft, right?
Yep. That's what it sound. I'm just saying that's what it sounds like to me. So yeah, okay. And what's that thing on her lip? All right, so I'm doing
right. I was wondering, is that man? She sure that man ain't going across her head?
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. She picked another one. I guess he hitting her a little softer than the right wing when he don't hit her as hard as the other one, huh?
Right. He ain't knocking her head between the washer and the dryer.
Right, just the washer, not both of them.
These were not good people.
I'm not really a cupcake, but I am super baked thanks to Mood Camp.
Mood is third-party tested, so you know it.
So we really had no reason to talk to him further. But wait, that's not all. I went a step further. I'm trying to think how old I was. I was in my late 20s at this point, and again, lifelong indoctrination into this religion. There's a little scripture that says that if you've tried to share the gospel with somebody and they've outright rejected it, that you should take your shoes and you should sweep the dust of your shoes in their direction as a sign that you were sharing the light with them and they rejected it. So now God knows to destroy their household when Jesus comes again in his power and glory. So I actually took a pair of my shoes and I stood on my front porch and I just swept the dust in their direction. And if this little family had looked across the street at me, they would have seen cute little blonde Jenny and all these babies running around and like orange trees. And I opened my door and it smelled like sourdough bread, always just like wafting out of the door, and homemade jam and chicken in the oven. And it looked so cute. And they would have had no idea the hatred and rejection that was actually in my heart that had been instilled in me from this community. They would have just thought I had dusty Nikes, wolf in sheep's clothing. So I loved how mean Donald Trump was. He was dusting off the dust of his shoes on.
See, so that's you see why she got with the first dude. That's the dude that made her hot in the pants. That's the dude that, well, really a lot of, and we started to find out too, even a lot of the extreme left wing women, those blue hair, septum ring piercing women who follow anything, they even like those right wing dudes like that, those overly aggressive frat boy right wing cats. They even like them cats. So that behavior by those women gets rewarded, but also that's the behavior that got them in a position of power. So they will never fully reject that behavior, because white people, I don't care how nice they try to act you, they act around you or whatever they say, none of them will give up land, power, wealth, or resources. Because when we're talking about ending racism, and we got to really, really think about this, when we're really talking about ending the system of white supremacy, ending racism, this is ending white people's reign and control over land, power, wealth, and resources. Any white person tell you that they down with stopping racism and ending racism around right now, ask them how much of their land, power, wealth, and resources they're willing to give up. And you'll see the real them.
Right. And a lot of us fall for the them willing to be around us, or them even seeking us out to be around us and being in our spaces and, smiling and laughing and engaging in what we engage in. We, are silly enough to interpret that as them not being racist, but that doesn't mean anything. A lot of times they seeking you out and coming and wanting to engage in what you want to engage in, because they have an implicit understanding that them as a white person could get clout off of engaging in the same stuff you engage in as a black person, right? So they're coming there to learn something so they can exploit it to their own benefit. Right. A lot of times we don't really understand that. And so one of the things that I do say is white people are a lot more psychologically sophisticated than black people, right? And black people go apeshit when I say that. But when I explain to them, the primary psychological tactic or strategy that they use is deception, right? And so they lying all the time. And so we have to understand that anything they saying, doing, 9 times out of 10 is a lie.
Yeah. They work off of deception. They've always worked off of deception. Right. And we have to understand that. I noticed that pattern when all of my historical videos that I will put on this channel, I would continue to come across stories of Black people having quote unquote verbal, or not quote unquote, but they had verbal agreements with white people, and then all of those agreements or treaties or whatever have all been broken. Whatever the white man said, we're going to do this. Whenever the white supremacists say we're going to do this, they're going to do the exact opposite. So if we're still believing what white people promised us in 2025, that means we haven't learned a thing. Go back and read Destruction of Black Civilization. That's 6,000 years of Black people, of lessons that we can learn of how we supposed to deal with each other and our enemies. So yeah, all right, back to Rebecca for a little bit, and then Marimba Ani.
Everybody still is terrified. He's not a nice person. Next reason I voted for Trump was guns. He loves them. So did I. We had so many guns. God gave us this beautiful free country so we could have all the guns that we wanted. And again, just had to go grab this from my dresser over there. My actual scriptures were just one giant war. They were rivers running with blood.
Right.
It says millions of bodies everywhere. This is one giant battle. And this is supposed to be an instruction book for us in these latter days as we come into the end of the world and Armageddon and everything. So I knew that we were going to have guns so that we could defend God's nation from the unrighteous. I read this book 6 times before I went to college. So like this kind of messes with your head. I have a TikTok that I did recently where I was just reading a verse out of here, and that TikTok got banned for hate speech. The next reason I voted for Trump was not having to worry about being environmentally friendly. I don't even know why I'm crying. It's really hard to dip my brain back in my old life. Jesus was coming back. The world was supposed to burn anyway. And the global warming crap was just leftist propaganda and lies anyway. That's truly what I thought in my head. So to have a president stand up and say that was like, yeah, that's what I've thought all along. That's what my religious community taught me. I lived in Utah for a few years and there's no recycling. Like there's no recycle bin. They drive all the big Escalades and stuff. They are completely destroying their state because it doesn't matter. Jesus is coming back. Okay, next up, I loved that Trump was a family guy. Like all those kids, the trad wife. Trump was always talking about family and kids, and they were all working together. And that's what I saw in my religious community too. It was big families. Crazy. It was like the dad had a dental practice and all of his sons went to dental school and they all kind of worked together. So to me, that was just another green flag that he was an amazing human being.
Imagine bringing your side project to life just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
This one's kind of funny. I voted for Trump because I believed that politicians were evil. Mitt Romney had lost, and like he was the Lord's appointed politician, and Trump was a businessman, not a politician. So I didn't trust the government. I didn't trust police officers. And by the way, Donald Trump actually had some good quotes about Mormons, and he quoted the Bible a lot. So to me, like he was as good as a Mormon. And I always kind of had this feeling that if somebody like gave him the Book of Mormon and the missionaries went and knocked on his door, that he would join the church, and then boy, he would really have some like true power of God. And that is my whole list. Now, there's a lot of other factors that went into me being super enthusiastic about Trump and MAGA. I feel like those cover most of them. And I do just want to ask once again, I understand why you would judge me, and I understand why you might be furious to hear people say this stuff out loud, but try to keep my comment section nice, because it's actually really difficult for me to go back and tap into these former beliefs.
Lady, shut up. You can't. Oh, okay. Shut up, lady. You express extreme genocidal ideologies and then want people to be nice. Yeah. All right, lady. Whatever,
because
lady.
You got up here and cried a little bit. But somebody in the chat, one of the comments said the fact that she still has the Book of Mormon says
exactly.
Right. And I totally agree. What are you holding on to it for if that's not your ideology anymore? If you don't believe any of that, why do you still have it? Why can you run over to the side and pick it up? You know, it's always within a few steps away. But you know what she was saying about in Utah, how they don't recycle, they drive these huge cars, they don't have any type of concern for the environment. And that reminds me of what is it? The Iceman Inheritance. Right. So in there, he talks about the Cronus complex and how one characteristic of Western society and Western ideology is that they're always driving for constant environment, but at the same time, they are insecure about being surpassed. So they engage in a lot of destructive behaviors so that, you know, they're building these advanced technology systems and power, but at the same time creating environmental and social damage that make it harder for future generations to surpass. Right. And so it's just crazy to me how everything she is saying like lines up almost exactly with you know, white supremacy, the European worldview, etc.
Hey, and that's why YouTube be trying to shadow ban us over here, because we be getting to it, right? But it's for us to have to understand. Dr. John Henry Clarke told us to study everything, and we have to learn our enemy. We don't know our enemy the way we think we know our enemy. We think we know our enemy just based off of observations. No. They're literally studying our DNA, and we're gonna learn them through observations, and they're literally studying our DNA. Come on, man. Like, once again, I always say we're at the chessboard with Uno cards in our hand turned backwards. We ain't even playing the right game. In the game we playing, we showing our hand. So shout out to Battle Genja. He said what he said. We should collectively start a coffee brand called Woke and name the brews after our hardest elders. That would be live. Hey man, you got my email, bro. You got my email. We need to email Jada Kiss because he already do coffee. So said refresh anyone. Oh, the invasive species. The white people are the invasive species. The invasive species comes in, it takes over, and it's like a plant, or even the lionfish here in Florida. What the lionfish is killing the natural environment. The lionfish is eating the coral. The lionfish is eating the food that the other fish would eat in the water. So in turn, for it to survive, it has to kill the environment. That's the invasive species. That's the white supremacists. For them to survive, they must destroy the environment around them. They've made plenty movies about this. They tell you who they are, and we just have to be able to look at the right thing. I'm telling you, save that storage sheet to play. I look, it's her, and it's another white lady that I've been looking at, and I got both of them on my radar because they're giving us information, but we already know these are the mothers of white supremacy.
Absolutely.
Yep. The snake is eating the tail. You right, but it ain't no FAMU snake because we don't eat snakes, okay? But yeah, now which Luke, my eye. So they're drinking and consuming melanin. Psh. Ain't no telling, man. Ain't no telling. Fish, right? DeWan 1985, my brother. Thank you. Circadian rhythm. Yes. So all right. So let's get into some Marimba Ani. So Dr. Marimba Ani is going to be talking about the African-centered, or we can use Black American-centered mind frame that we should have to counter the white supremacist mind frame that they gave us. But remember, the mind frame that they gave us allows us to be oppressed.
I'm very glad to be here, and I'm always glad to be here. But before we actually get started, let us stand for 1 moment, please. Okay. The issues that I'm going to be raising, we're going to be talking about, has to do with work that I've been doing over quite a long period of time. That has to do with analyzing critically the the nature of European thought and behavior.
Yes.
And I have a major work which I hope will one day you will be able to see. It, to me, is very important that we do understand the nature of European culture, because if we don't, then what happens is we don't realize when we are taking on values, behaviors, thought habits or mental habits that indeed come from, not only come from Europe, that's not the point, but which act in the service of European power and which are actually anti-African. So we must identify those so that then we can be cleansed of them. And of course, I am going to spend some time talking about African conceptions and the African worldview, so that we can use these conceptions for the purposes of reconstruction. Let me just say that Brother Inuri said that I had been working in the community for 10 years. He was referring to a particular project, an organization. I've been working in the community much, much longer than that. But there is a particular project that we have, a family that we have called the African Heritage After School Program, which meets twice a week in Harlem. And we have been meeting for 10 years, and that is kind of exciting. The things that go on with these young people, to see them thinking and thinking critically and thinking from an African-centered perspective is very exciting. And I would talk to anyone who is interested in starting a similar program. You know, you can talk to me after we speak today. This is working. Okay, so it's very important always when we talk together, when we think, to put our thoughts, our analysis into a frame of reference. One of the problems that we have is there's so much to do. The brother who is in danger of losing his life, of actually being assassinated in Philadelphia, we have to support.
Bush woman.
We have to support our children every day who are under threat. We live in constant threat. So what happens is that it takes away sometimes from our ability to conceptualize what it is that we see ourselves as doing.
Now listen to what she's saying. We're under constant threat. We're under constant threat. Us being under constant threat, it minimizes our chance to analyze what's happening to us and what's happening around us, because we're under constant threat and we're in perpetual survival mode. It's like when they talk about some of these ancient civilizations, warlike people, if you notice, warlike civilizations did not produce philosophers. Go back and look at a lot of these ancient civilizations. Warlike civilizations did not produce philosophers. Philosophers came from areas and civilizations in places where it was minimal. I'm not saying it didn't happen, because we know it always happened, but it was not the start warlike places. It came from places where they had more time to sit down and think. So if we're constantly under attack on one end, and on the other end, we have no idea what's going on, we're not sitting down analyzing what's happening to us. On one end, we're just trying to survive, and on the other end, we have no idea what's happening. That's a lot.
So okay, so we do have some people who are sitting down thinking about these things, right?
Right.
Unfortunately, the masses of us typically don't know who these people are, or what conclusions they've come to.
Right.
at the same time, the masses of us are constantly creating new dances, creating new words, creating new styles of clothing, right? And so I think on some implicit level, we understand that we under attack.
Right.
But, I think, what strategy do you use to deal with that? Do you try to conform and, escape, like use various means of escapism? Or do you try to confront the problem head on and try to develop workable solutions for it?
No, you're right. Because like I say, you have some people who they get it, but they ain't gonna do nothing about it. They don't want to do nothing about it because they have a comfortable place.
Right.
And why mess up my comfortable place trying to fight white supremacy when they gonna start giving me the crumbs of the crumbs of the crumbs that I get? And then on the other end, of course, I think a lot of people who may not know the extent of white supremacy and how it's really happening to us, those are people who are in extreme survival mode.
Right.
Those are people who have never had the time to sit down and think about white supremacy or how it's affecting us, any of those things. But unfortunately, that is a large portion of Black America, unfortunately. So I do think that those of us who have the wherewithal or the knowledge or even the awareness of it, we're far and few. And then when we talk about conscious, because I think we need to rework conscious, because there's a lot of people who say they're conscious, but we can see by their actions and results that they're not conscious.
Right.
So unfortunately, it's a small group of us who are knowledgeable and are working towards solutions.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But we're trying to go against an army, so.
Yeah. Well, so, and like you say, working towards solutions. Work is involved, right? And it's hard work.
Right.
And so a lot of people are going to abdicate that responsibility. I'm thinking of a lot of the Blacks we're seeing trying to align themselves with MAGA and whatnot. Right. So a lot of times it's easier to submit and go along with the program or try to join the winning team than it is to acknowledge, like, okay, this is what's going on, and let me, try to fight back against it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, why not take the easy road? You know what I'm saying? That's what they like. Amina Muhammad is in the building. Welcome. Oh, good afternoon. Glad you up in here. Lady V says the average person does not know what racism actually is, and that's why most are comfortable in the system. But going back to Neely Fuller's quote, I think there are a lot of people who think they know what racism is, but they're confused because they don't really truly know. So, but all right, let's let Marimba Ani get back to cooking.
It takes away from our ability to have a plan that goes beyond next week or 2 months. We need to be thinking about where we expect to be in 5 years. We need to be thinking about a 10-year plan, and any plan has to be put into a frame of reference. What is it that we expect to see eventually? And I want to share with you just a couple of quotes from two brothers who I believe are doing very important work at this point of giving us clarity as to what are our objectives as Pan-Africanists, African nationalists.
Oh yeah.
The first one is Nation Building, is a book by Ajay Akoto, who has been involved in African institution building for over 20 years, has a school in DC, that is a group of them have a school that has been in existence for 20 years, an African independent school, which we don't have, a camp, land in Virginia. My daughter has been going to the camp for 6 years now. This is an opportunity for our young people to actually live the kinds of things that we're talking about. So institution building is extremely important, and they do that within the framework of what is called nation building. And I want to read to you from this book, which everybody should get, every African person. I always talk about 2000 Seasons, absolutely, you need to read that. The Healers by Aikwe Armah. But also now, I would add 2 more books, and one is Nation Building by Ajay Akoto. Let me read this. Nation building is the conscious and focused application of our people's collective resources, energies, and knowledge to the task of liberating and developing the psychic and physical space that we identify as ours. It involves the development of behaviors, values, language, institutions, and physical structures that elucidate our history and culture, concretize and protect the present, and ensure the future identity and independence of the nation.
That right there takes real work, because what she just read and what goes into nation building, that means that we have to totally rework ourselves, rebuild ourselves. We have to totally rebuild our minds, our spirits, our bodies, everything about us. Everything that defined us as Black people in America has to be rebuilt in our own image. We have to self-actualize as Black people in the world. We've never had a chance to self-actualize. I keep saying that other people have defined us. Other people have set the foundation for us. Other people have gave us our identity. So at what point do we say forget this and redefine ourselves? But we understand why the masses of us don't do it. That's a part of the conditioning. That's why we're going to continue to preach that we have to reprogram ourselves. We're going to continue to give information from people who can help us reprogram our minds, because to get to the point to where we're truly building a nation for ourselves, and we're reworking all the frameworks and making sure that our minds are together, that takes work.
Right. And so how do we start the process of reprogramming? Well, first you got to deprogram, right? You got to remove all of the faulty programming and then, upload the new program. But how do we even start to do that when there are real consequences, right? And rewards being meted out on the basis of us either conforming or not.
Right. No, yeah, you're right. You're right. And that's where we have to make the decision for ourselves. And then going back and look at history, because you made a good point. They will conspire against us. So looking at how did all these Black organizations we have get infiltrated by those who work for the white supremacists? Mm-hmm. Being able to look at protecting ourselves on all fronts, being able to rework things. But we have to work to reprogram our minds first before we even get to that, because we got to stop thinking like white people.
So, yes. But again, there are real consequences. So what I'm thinking about is there have been several instances where Black people have undergone a fundamental shift in our values based on what the dominant society deems was right. So I'm thinking about, it was some proposition in California. This was years ago, but it was the gay marriage one, I think. And so it got voted down. They didn't vote for it. Now, this was years ago, maybe about 20 years ago, maybe 25 even. No, about 20 years ago. And I know it wasn't even that many Black people in California, because it sure ain't none now, right? Yeah, so it's not a large population of Black people in California. But what the media did was lay that right at Black people's feet. Oh, it didn't get passed because Black people homophobic and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So fast forward 20 years, and now Black people endorse that type of behavior more than any other group.
Yep. Shout out to Obama.
Right. And so then I'm thinking about the mental health system.
Yes.
And so for a very long time, Black people didn't really buy into the whole notion of mental illness and whatnot. We were more likely to look at it as a spiritual affliction or whatever. And she's actually going to talk about that later. But, you know, with the inundation of, you know, mental health is real. Now, Black people go and get therapy more than anybody. You know, Black people are in these systems, despite the fact that we are more misdiagnosed.
Right.
And so when the dominant society says, hey, look, Black people are different, Black people tend to shift our behavior. And so how do we deal with that?
Right. No, that's real, because they are going to continue to use whatever force and power that they have to keep the control that they have, to keep the narratives what it is, to keep the status quo. I think Black people, we really, to be honest, I don't think we have an answer to that, because how much progress or success have we had at fighting back against white supremacy over the years, and how far we've gotten is the only answers we've got, but we don't have any true, like, real victorious examples. Right. And I think if we're talking like real life historical examples, we don't have those, so we're going to have to use our imagination on that, or look at other examples.
Right. And I'm just wondering how we stop putting so much stock into what the dominant society thinks of us. I mean, because we know what they think regardless, but just stop going along with their notion of what we should be doing.
Right. So, okay, appreciate that, Dorian. Hey man, we keep telling y'all this. Y'all got the wrong PhD diva, man. It's other PhD divas out there. I looked it up. So yeah, it's other PhD divas. And if we're getting therapy from the white supremacists, then well, yeah. Say flip the capitalism and use powernomics. We keep, our scholars have given us things that we can use, and you know, we choose not to use them, but that's the mindset. Battle Genja asks, what is your view or experience in exploring, learning combatives like truly?
You would have to explain to me what
learning
that even means. Like, learning combatives, what is a learning combative?
Yeah.
So, you know, based on the fact that I don't even know what that is, I would say very little. But I did want to go back to that previous comment and to say, now it's a Black woman up here. Oh, she the true enemy. And we're talking about white supremacy, right? And so Black men, you cannot, like, that just doesn't even make sense to say any Black woman is a true enemy when we're in this white supremacist system, right? Because there's nothing that a Black woman is going to be able to do that comes anywhere close to what this man been doing to you since you got here. Yeah.
No, I'm with you. But whoever the other PhD person is, like, she got people's draws in a bunch. So we're gonna have to find out who she is, because I and let me say this, because people are confusing you with her. When I was uploading my post and my video, getting everything together, I noticed, because I was typing it in, and a couple PhD channels came up, but it had nothing to do with the one that you were connected with. Right. So I've seen that. So there are other PhDs that are out there. So we just let y'all know.
Uses the term nation is referring to the African world nation. You have a building fund, you are participating in the method or the strategy of African institution building. That's what's being done, and that's what we have to do more of. The other book that everyone must read is The African Personality in America, by Kobe Cambone, who came here and spoke last spring, I believe. And I just want to read one of his definitions for you, and understand what I'm doing is if there is a need for us to have clarity. When we talk about culture, we're not just culture is political. Culture is ideological. And that's what we have to understand, and I believe that these brothers are helping us to do that. Kobe Cambone talks about that objective that we are moving towards as being the creation of the African world order. And I ask you, brothers and sisters, are you ready for power? Because I think that is part of our problem. We really don't know how to deal with power. We've been so used to being dependent and resisting oppression that we don't see that. Why are we doing that? We're doing that because our rightful place is to exercise African power in the world. He says the African world order, a pan-Africanist, nationalist, cultural organization of the world. That's what he means by the African world order. A world organization, a world rather organized around Afrocentric cultural hegemony. A societal organization spanning the whole of the African world, wherein all institutional structures are grounded in and defined by the historical, cultural, and philosophical conditions indigenous to African people, protecting and preserving the African survival thrust as the center of reality. So it is with the help of these two brothers that I am establishing a frame of reference for our talk today. Nation building is what we need if we are to be able to experience African self-consciousness, which is a concept that Cambone has. Now, I have developed in my work some concepts to help me analyze European culture, thought, and behavior. And I do that because it is my belief that we cannot use European methods of conceiving of reality if indeed we are to, number one, look critically at them, but number two, to understand ourselves and where we need to be going. So what I've been attempting to do is to reconceptualize, that is to think creatively, using an African frame of reference, using the African worldview. In addition to that, I have attempted to use African words, use terminology that I take from African languages, because I believe that language also is intimately connected to how we think. Language is one of the most important and critical aspects of culture. And so obviously we may not be able to immediately take on an African language, but we can begin to do that because there are things that we have to think about. There are things that we do think about that really cannot be expressed in a European language. And so we are hampered by that language. And we have to do all kinds of things with the language, which we do very creatively. And so I just want to mention very briefly some concepts that I have developed. One thing is people are now referring to the period in which we were kidnapped, raped, taken from the homeland, and then placed into a slave order here in this part of the world. We are referring to that as the Maafa. Maafa is a Kiswahili term which means great disaster. And I just got to the point, I didn't want to be talking about the African Holocaust, as if we're, referring, there's another Holocaust, and then this is ours, and so forth. And I just wanted to get us used to using some African terms. So in Let the Circle Be Unbroken, which is a small book that I do not have with me today, I introduced the term the Ma'afa. So if you hear it, that's what it's referring to. And it's very easy, and we can all do that. We can do it with our children. We can get used to it, okay? Now, M-A-A-F-A.
Now, before she get into what the Ma'afa is, we're going to let it play for a little bit more. And this is going to be a two-parter. We already see now it's going to be a two-parter. But she has, if we're juxtaposing what Marimba Ani is talking about when she's talking about an African-centered worldview versus what Rebecca was talking, I don't know the white lady name, her name gonna be Rebecca, but what Rebecca was talking about, the white supremacist, white Christian nationalist worldview. Not once did Marimba Ani mention anything about dominating, controlling, being in power, using weapons, eliminating anybody. Not once was anything hatred. Not that we have to put those people in their place. We have to make those people think like us. Not once did she mention any of that. Even when she taking the information from the books, from the authors. The one book she was mentioning about Dr. Kobe Cambone, I have that book. I thought it was on my bookshelf in here, but this is Dr. Cambone. I think this believe this is Dr. Cambone's first book, but talking about African-centered worldviews. But this is one of the first books that I brought that really got me going on the Black psychology road, because I had no idea this existed. But and this is a book that we're gonna have to put on our reading list to read. But if we're looking at African-centered or Black American worldviews versus white supremacist worldviews, their worldviews are all destructive. Everything about them is destructive, and everything about us at this point is reactive and trying to make sure that we're not destroyed. And we need to get to a point to where we become a powerful people, to where we're not reactive when we're proactive, when especially in dealing with enemies and dealing with outsiders. Because one thing that we did learn from the destruction of Black civilization is we're not just looking at Europeans as our enemies. We're looking at all other outsiders, because history has shown us that all other outsiders will come and take your stuff if you're not strong enough to protect it, because that's the way the world works. I know we've been lied to, but that's the way the world works.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I did want to address the question, the statement about we need to adopt Kiswahili as an alternative.
Yeah.
So
no, it's funny because I was pulling out a Dollar Tree parking lot yesterday, and she was saying this part, and I was like, oh man. But go ahead.
So a beautiful language. I've been over to East Africa and heard, them speaking it, picked up a couple words myself. But the word for white people is Mzungu.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know what that actually means?
Mm-mm.
Man of God.
Oh.
Right. And so these people have had their minds twisted and churned in the same way that we have. Mm-hmm. And so she does talk about, language, adopting an African language, because you can express certain concepts that you cannot express in English. But I don't know, right?
Yeah. But that's where the critical thinking comes in, and that's where we don't just blindly follow.
Right.
Because I think some of those concepts and those thoughts are a bit dated for the time. And I understand why they were needed for the time, because we're talking about positive propaganda and getting Black people away from the Eurocentric mindsets. But we don't want to go from one slave master to the next, because Swahili has its roots in the Arabs,
right?
And those were slave traders. And I thought about that too. I was like, well, what if we create a Black American language for ourselves, or revitalize the Tutnese or use the Gullah Geechee languages as something that we can use to express our concepts the way we need within each other, because we need something that is unique to us as Black American people, because we're not continental Africans, we're Black American people, so we need something unique to us.
But don't we kind of already do that, right? Just with Black vernacular English, how we're all constantly creating new words and concepts, so much so that other people resonate with it and start adopting it. You know, I think that people under a certain age, regardless of where you go in the world, they can't express themselves unless they use an our language, right?
And then, but that's why, and that's another reason why I say, well, you got the Gullah Geechee language already there, and it's pretty much the same thing,
right?
You know, because you like people like to make fun of the Baltimore, the bibble lip stuff that they do in Baltimore, but it's creating your own dialect, creating your own way of communicating with each other, and we do already do that. We just don't do it collectively.
Right.
So, yeah. So, gotcha. All right. So we're gonna let this play for a little more, then we're gonna start to wrap this up. But this will be a two-parter.
Very simple, ma'afa. Another term, asili. I use this as a concept to refer to the germinating seed of culture, of any particular culture. Asili means seed in Kiswahili. It also means origin. It also refers to the nature of a thing, to its essence. And so I use this. The concept was that if you could look at a culture and identify its asili, its seed, then you could understand how everything relates in the culture. So that asili in this sense becomes something like the DNA of a culture. That is, it's a germinating principle. It is a genetic information that once that asili is in place, it will seek to fulfill itself. And everything that the people within the culture create will be in the fulfillment, towards the fulfillment of that asili. Okay? A-S-I-L-I, asili. And I want to show you how it works. I got the opportunity in our session with the youth on Friday to use it with them to show them how they could analyze European behavior. We looked at the New York Times, and there was on the front page the reporting of Bush sending 28,000 troops into Somalia, right? So I said to them, after explaining the concept, we've had a lot of discussion, so they're prepared for this. Why is he doing
more in the building?
Okay, I said, now suppose he says, we're doing this because we want to help African people, right? So how do you use the concept of asili to help you know why he is doing that? Well, in my analysis of European culture, I've come to the conclusion that the European asili is based around the pursuit of European power. And what that means is that every single thing that Europeans do is about the achievement of European power, which of course implies the domination of African people and other quote unquote non-European people, okay, or other majority peoples. So that you look again at that article and you're not confused, because you say, no, Bush couldn't be sending in those troops because he cares about us. He's got to be doing that in the pursuit of European power. That's very simple, but that's what we need. We need something to clarify everything for us, because we get confused. We get the good white people, you see, coming at us and we say, oh, well, that's different. Doesn't fit. But if we use the concept of asili, we will understand that whatever it is that they are doing, whatever terms they use, however they come at you, you need to be thinking about what? how is this going to facilitate their power and help them to dominate me? Okay, so that's how I have used the concept so that I can then look at various aspects of the culture and show how it all fits. And when I say that, I mean you can explain how their concepts of beauty fit into that. You can explain how their religion, you see, fits into the pursuit of European power. Those are the kinds of things that confuse us. And what I do, because I think it's the most important, you can explain how, or you can see how, academic institutions also exist so that Europeans can control our minds.
I'm gonna stop it right there for the sake of time. For the sake of time, I'm gonna stop it right there. But that is the 23-minute 12 mark, and we're gonna have to come back to that for the sake of time, because I know people got lives and all this. PhD, but I don't want to have you on here all night. But we definitely have to come back to that. But I love what she said. How taking an analysis of how we behave, how we get down, and is my behavior, is my thought process, is my framework something that is helping to further or support the system of white supremacy? Is it helping my own interests, or is it helping the interests of the system of the white supremacists? That was profound. I love that.
Right. And so she said everything they got going on, they religion, they beauty standards, all of this helps advance their agenda of white domination. And so what that means for us is everything we do need to be in resistance to that, right? And so our own beauty standards need to be in resistance to theirs. Right. And then when she talked about education, how they use education, and people refer to education as indoctrination, and it's absolutely true, right? Yes. But I think one of the major ways that they're able to indoctrinate us is by controlling the information. So it's not necessarily that they're giving you some specific indoctrination, but they will just keep you from certain types of knowledge, right? Right. And usually that's the knowledge that's involving ourselves. So a lot of times when I talk to us educated Black people, I'll ask, okay, well, what was the Black contribution to your field of study? And again, they look at me like I've grown a second head, and most of them say, I never even thought about it. So you mean to tell me that you sat in classrooms getting lectured at for over 4 years, sometimes more if you got an advanced degree, and never did it cross your mind, hey, where was I in all of this? What all of this got to do with me specifically? Right.
No, you're exactly correct. I think either Pat or PC, we talked about that before. Like really looking at what you're studying, how it impacts you, even how do you contribute to it? Right. All those different things. How do you help advance this information? How do you help advance the field? What do you even think about it?
Exactly. Because, but a lot of us aren't.
So I tell people this all the time. As somebody who graduated from the HBCU, I graduated from the most pro-Black part of the HBCU. If you've been to an HBCU, you know that you can be a Black person, go to an HBCU and learn nothing about Black history and Black culture. Nothing at all. So I came from the Blackest part of the HBCU, and only a handful of us from that sector came out actually critical thinkers and spurred to do something different.
Well, when I was there, one thing that, you could set your watch to was the girls all came in with perms, because this was before weaves became real big, but everybody came in with straightened, permed hair, and they left with some form of a natural hair. They did. Whatever. And I actually I tried to buck, and I said, they ain't gonna get me, right? And so I refused to do it. So I was able to graduate with my permed hair, and it was like a year after that I finally went natural. But so it does really just reshape your mind. just being exposed to certain types of knowledge. And when you have your mind reshaped, it'll impact your behavior.
Yeah. But that's the greatest part about that program. If you actually take it serious, you actually listen, it will reshape your mind. It will. And for some of us, it didn't just reshape our mind, it spurred us to do more, to be more, to want more, to build more.
Right.
I say it a lot. I think some people, they get into the information and they don't really break it down, so it becomes a costume.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't need that. We don't need more people who are cosplaying pro-Black, and we need more people who are actually proactive in our community, making things change, making changes in our community. But programs like that help to spur the changing of the mind, the reprogramming. So it says, do I think down the line they will use AI to further? I do. I think they're gonna use anything they can to censor free speech, because this is not a free speech country, no matter what they say. Everything you saw me use in that video, Joseph, from the legal to the combat, then later to the legal knowledge that I used to learn from non-white. There you go. Now that video, I ain't gonna get into the details of that video, but shout out to you in that video. You did your thing in that video. I'll tell PhD about that offline. But any closing statements that you want to give to the audience for this particular video, because we come back for part 2 next Saturday.
Okay. Just to be interested in yourself, right? Understand who you are. Self-knowledge is the first step in having any type of knowledge. If you don't know you can't really know anything about the rest of the world. And so I enjoyed the conversation. I thank you all for having me, and I look forward to coming back to discuss more.
Oh yes, no, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate your contribution to the conversation. And she is not the PhD that you all are thinking about from YouTube. I've checked, I double checked. Trust me, because I wasn't trying to double check it like that, but I was trying to tag you into the post, and I was wondering why it wasn't coming up the same way that it does for you. And I realized, oh, it's a couple PhDs out there. So for all y'all who she good, she family, she family. But I appreciate the lookout, but she family. So with that being said, PhD, I want to give you a big round of applause. Where's my, oh look, there we go. Out from the plate. There's a round of applause. Thank you for being here. And I want to give my shouts out to everybody who tuned in. So Gregory Jones, I appreciate you for being here. Conventional education doesn't prepare us for critical. You are right. You are right. Renee Woods, yes, thank you, Renee. Thank you, PhD. Thank you for being here. Battle Genja, you already know my brother. I appreciate you. Let's continue to communicate. B. Scott, thank you. The Hustle Life, thank you for being here. Produce Market, thank you for being here. FM, you already know what it is. FM, I appreciate you. Battle Genja, same thing with you. My brothers, thank you. Dorian, Eugene, Talfoot, thank you, my brother. Thank you. Who else was up in here? Creative Fish Designs, Charlotte. That's what's up. Okay, Pat up there with you in Charlotte. Who else was up in here? Door of L. I appreciate you as always. You definitely help push the conversation forward. Who else was up in here? Bushwoman, thank you as always, Bushwoman. Thank you for being here. Wilbert Haynes, thank you. Because y'all don't have to be here. Lady V, thank you. Amina, you already know what it is. Amina, thank you. I appreciate you for being up in here. Circadian Rhythm, thank you. Dewan, thank you. Luke Mon, I appreciate you. Thank you. Who else? I just said FM, you the real one. I appreciate you. Red Bull Vodka, thank you. What's this? Shakay, thank you. If I pronounce your name wrong, please forgive me. But Shakay, thank you. Crypto Mighty, Crypto Almighty, thank you. CD, thank you. Who else? Sion, I appreciate you as always. As always. Red Bull Vodka, definitely. DSB, everybody. Malik, I appreciate you. Supreme Worthy, I appreciate you for being here. Almost to the top. It's that Just Us. Julius Caesar, thank you. And I believe that is it. Christine Williams, as always. Christine, you know we appreciate you. And that is, yep, that's it. So thank you everybody for being here. And we'll catch y'all. The next live, remember the next live is on Tuesday. So the next live will be on Tuesday, but we're going to come back next Saturday and finish up this part 2. And we're going to go deep into what Marimba Ani is talking about, juxtaposing that to the white supremacist worldview. So remember, every day at 1 p.m. I'm dropping the video. Every Tuesday at 9 p.m. I'm going live. Every Saturday at 3:30 p.m. I'm going live. But every day at 1 p.m. I'm dropping the video for you. So love you all. PhD, but once again, thank you. And I look forward to having you back on here next Saturday. We're going to keep dropping these jewels on people. And for everybody else, I love y'all, and I'll catch y'all next time. Peace out.
Bye, y'all.